friendly UK team on 0800 470 4474 or visit covertoday.co.uk.
Ladies and gentlemen, Britain hasn't been so great of late because the country hasn't been eating enough Weetabix.
Makes sense. I've been eating croissants.
To whoever's in charge of fixing potholes, VAR, and drivers who park like this, we must say, have you had your Weetabix?
Dealing with my lot means making smart choices and trying to find the time to plan ahead. And with our family growing, I want to protect the life we've built.
Welcome to Smart Insurance. How can I help?
Hi, I'd like a quick quote, please.
You can choose a benefit amount up to £750,000 depending on your age, and you can personalise your policy with optional critical illness and children's cover.
Brilliant.
If you're a UK resident aged 18 to 64, you can apply with just a few health and lifestyle questions. For £250,000 of cover, the price starts at just £14.77 a month.
That's less than I thought, and could help my husband pay off the mortgage.
Just like families, not all life insurance is the same. That's why we offer the Smart Family Guarantee. We guarantee a straightforward application process, award-winning service you can trust, and cover from day one. And it's easy to arrange. You can get covered in just a matter of minutes.
That's good to know.
For even greater peace of mind, you'll also receive a 100% advance in the event of terminal illness and 10% cashback on your first year's premiums. That's the Smart Cashback.
Sounds great. I'll go ahead.
Our Smart Family Life Insurance is exclusive to us, and when you sign up, you'll get access to free health and wellbeing services. Plus, you get your choice of a £125 gift card.
Looks like my lot have learned to plan ahead too.
Protect the life you've built the smart way. To get a free life insurance quote today, call our specialist UK team on 0800 977 6858 or visit smartinsurance.co.uk.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Thanks for staying with NDTV. You're watching the Thursday edition of the World Report with me, Arjun, Samar, Mahendran. PM Modi has kick-started his 5-nation tour and is currently in Ghana. Now, this marks his first bilateral visit to the country. Meanwhile, India and Ghana inked 4 agreements following talks between PM Modi and Ghana's President John Dramani Mahama. Now, PM Modi also delivered a strong anti-terror message. Listen into what the PM said, followed by my colleague Mohammad Ghazali, who breaks down the very importance of this visit by PM Modi.
अब एक मत है कि आतंकवाद मानवता का दुश्मन है। आतंकवाद के खिलाफ हमारी लड़ाई में सहयोग के लिए हम गाना का आभार प्रकट करते हैं। इस संदर्भ में हमने काउंटर टेररिज्म में आपसी सहयोग को और मजबूत करने का निर्णय किया है। यूएन रिफॉर्म्स को लेकर हमारा दृष्टिकोण एक जैसा है। पश्चिम एशिया और यूरोप में चल रहे कॉन्फ्रेंस को लेकर हम दोनों ने गहरी चिंता व्यक्त की है। हमारा मानना है कि युद्ध का युग नहीं है। डायलॉग और डिप्लोमेसी से ही समस्या का समाधान होना चाहिए।
All these foreign visits, most of these countries are such where no Indian Prime Minister in the past has made a visit. And in Ghana, in the last 3 decades, no other Indian Prime Minister has ever paid the visit. This particular visit is significant considering the fact that Indian Prime Minister has announced that how India and Ghana will have equal ties when it comes to trade and also in new sort of sectors like energy sector, critical minerals, and also Prime Minister also sent out a message from the African region that how terrorism is something which every nation should oppose, while he went on to claim that this is not an era of war. So whether it was the issue of conflict in Middle East and Europe, as well as the issue of terror, Prime Minister sending out a tough message from the African region. And it is so that Prime Minister spoke about it is to counter the Chinese influence in the region, and that is why this visit is very significant.
At a time when PM Modi sent out a strong message against terror in Ghana, Foreign Minister Jaishankar gave out a similar message in the US. Now, he said that all countries need to in fact speak in one voice against terrorism. Now, this comes as he met with FBI Chief Kash Patel and US Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. Listen in.
It is a fact that countries, often countries do not take a position when some other country is a victim of terrorism, which they would do when they themselves are. We have, in that respect, honestly been much more consistent and principled. That we have, when terrorist incidents, attacks happen elsewhere, outside India, we have largely followed the same position that we have taken when they have happened in India. So, if is your point that others not doing it, my answer to you is yes, you are right. Many of them are not doing it or not doing it sufficiently enough. And part of diplomacy is to exhort them, encourage them, persuade them, motivate them to do that.
Viewers, our sources are indicating that an interim trade deal between India and the United States is likely to be finalized within the next 48 hours. That's correct. India's trade team extended its stay in Washington just last week to iron out key differences that still exist. Now, this comes as the two sides look to clinch a mini deal before the July 9 deadline, when the pause on US tariffs is set to be lifted. Now, both sides have dug in their heels over a number of issues. Now, these include Washington's demand that India open its market to genetically modified crops. Now, it's a long-standing red line for New Delhi due to the risks to, in fact, its farmers. The US, meanwhile, is also pressing for greater market access to the Indian agricultural and dairy sectors. However, sources told NDTV that both these sectors are likely to be kept out of the purview of the proposed deal due to concerns over rural livelihoods and also, more importantly, food safety. India, on the other hand, is reportedly pushing for meaningful tariff concessions on its labor-intensive exports like footwear, garments, and even leather, which are major and remain, in fact, major job creations. Here's more.
Not just in the US, but in India also, we can expect 4th of July cracker works and fireworks to go in, given that an interim trade deal is very much possible in the next 48 hours. This is what we're picking up from official sources. Just like the deal that was announced between US and Vietnam yesterday, we can expect something on similar lines, given the fact that that deal was also broadly about tariff cuts and the removal, or the reduction of the reciprocal tariffs that the Trump administration had imposed. So that is something that we can expect from this mini or interim trade deal that is about to come. What we can also expect is that there will probably be no mention of agri or dairy produce, something that has been a major red line for India so far. That is not something that will probably feature in this interim trade deal that will come out in the next 48 hours ahead of this July 9 tariff pause deadline that we've seen coming. What we're also not expecting is that sectoral tariffs on steel, auto components, as well as aluminium, will also probably remain untouched, because that has also been the scene in this US-Vietnam trade deal that came out late last night. So that is what we've been hearing from Trump. There has been repeatedly bullish, positive commentary. The Indian team is also in Washington for negotiations still, and we're hopeful for a deal in the next 48 hours.
India has voiced deep concern over the abduction of 3 of its nationals in Mali. It's a country grappling with a fresh wave of terrorist attacks. In fact, the Ministry of External Affairs has also said that the Indian workers employed at the diamond cement factory in Case were taken hostage during a coordinated armed assault on the factory premises on the 1st of July. Now, it's a day after the incident. India formally called upon the Mali government to take all necessary measures, in fact, to ensure their safe and expeditious release. Now, the MEA said, and I quote here, the incident occurred on July 1, when a group of armed assailants carried out coordinated attack at the factory premises and forcibly took 3 Indian nationals as hostages. Over in the US, the Pentagon has collected intelligence material that suggests Iran's nuclear program was set back roughly 1 to 2 years as a result of the US strikes on 3 key facilities only last month. Now, the spokesperson, Sean Parnell, repeated Donald Trump's claim that Iran's key nuclear sites had been, in fact, completely destroyed. This is what he said, although he did not offer further details on the origin of assessments beyond saying it came from inside the Defense Department. Here's what he said.
Our assessment of the battle damage around Fordow, Nantes, and Isfahan remains unchanged. I mean, we believe, and certainly all of the intelligence that we've seen have led us to believe that those facilities especially have been completely obliterated. And the interesting kind of side point about this, Tara, is that all of the conversations that we've had since Operation Midnight Hammer with our allies all around the world, but certainly also in the region, they say a couple of things. They share our sentiments about the degradation of Iran's nuclear program and the fact that we have degraded their program by 1 to 2 years. At least intel assessments inside the department assess that, and I think their intelligence shares that conclusion.
Now we shift our focus to West Asia now and the ongoing Israel-Hamas ceasefire proposal talks. Now, latest Western media reports, viewers indicate that Hamas won't hold hostage handover ceremonies during Gaza ceasefire as part of the hostage release and Gaza ceasefire deal being negotiated. Hamas has in fact said it would not hold public ceremonies while freeing captives, as we've seen multiple times in the past the terror group doing till now. Now, reports also note that the proposal being discussed would see the return of 10 living hostages and the remains of 18 captives to Israel, while Hamas releasing them on 5 separate occasions over the 60-day proposed truce. In China, Shandong aircraft carrier arrived in Hong Kong for the first time on Thursday. That's correct. The Shandong sailed in alongside its battle group, which also includes the Navy's Yan'an and the Zhejiang guided missile destroyers, and even the Yucheng guided missile frigate. Now, the carrier is due to stay in Hong Kong until Monday next week and will be open to the first public for ticketed tours during the weekend. The Shandong, for perspective, is one of the Chinese Navy's 3 aircraft carriers. Viewers, last month itself, it saw the first time 2 of the ships had operated together, in fact, in the Indo-Pacific. Meanwhile, authorities say 7 people are missing following an explosion at a fireworks warehouse in rural Northern California that in fact also caused a massive fire, as you see on your screens right there. Now, the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection says that the emergency crews and investigators are working with the property's owners and monitoring the area using drones to find out the individuals and their whereabouts. Meanwhile, it's not immediately clear if those missing worked at the warehouse or lived nearby the premises where the massive explosion, in fact, took place. Now, people were urged to avoid the area for several days following the blast, which also set off a barrage of fireworks and caused a huge blaze that led to other spot fires and collapsed the building in the farming community northwest of Sacramento. At least 4 people have died and dozens are missing after a ferry sank off Indonesia's tourist island of Bali, rescuers have said. Now, the boat was carrying 53 passengers and 12 crew when it sank while on its way to Bali from Banyuwangi on the eastern coast, in fact, of the Java island. 29 survivors have been rescued as the search still continues as we get to this broadcast, viewers. Meanwhile, authorities are investigating the cause of the sinking. The ferry operator has told local media that the vessel had reported engine trouble shortly before it sank. Here's more.
Lompatnya enggak lompat, jadi bersamaan sama anunya, jadi enggak begitu melompat. Karena sudah dekat air. Akhirnya mungkin ya sama agak jauh ya enggak ikut kapal tenggelam kan, air kan ikut ke dalam. Ya mungkin dalamnya ada 7 meter, saya juga kenangan itu. Kenangnya naik. Saya ketemu kawan gitu. Jadi saya gabung, terus ketemu lagi jatuh ya gabung. Jadi 4 orang 4 pelampung, cuma pelampung gini 4 orang. Jadi sampai pagi tadi 4 orang cuma yang 1 meninggal. Jadi berapa itu? Nah, jadi yang 1 meninggal, yang 3 sehat.
small skydiving plane went off the end of a runway at an airport in southern New Jersey and crashed in a wooded area with at least 15 people on board on Wednesday evening. All 15 people on board the aircraft were taken to hospital following the crash, after the crash, which took place at the Cross Keys Airport. It's situated 34 kilometers southeast of Philadelphia. Meanwhile, the FAA said that the incident is under investigation. Aerial footage, meanwhile, of the crash site showed the plane damaged into several pieces of debris in a wooded area. Moreover, fire trucks and emergency vehicles surrounded the crash site, as you see on your screens right now. Shifting focus to India, where just a day after the Dalai Lama's subtle snub to China, in which he revealed that his institution will continue and that only his trust holds the authority to choose his successor, Minority Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju is set to visit Dharamsala tomorrow. Officials have clarified that the minister's visit is purely religious in nature and holds no political agenda whatsoever. Meanwhile, India has echoed the Dalai Lama's assertion regarding the succession process. Minister Rijiju stated, and I'm quoting him here, "No one else has the right to decide on the Dalai Lama's successor. Only the Dalai Lama himself can do that, and his followers around the world believe this deeply." It's time we step into a short break. I'll see you on the other side.
With Post Office Over 50's life cover, enjoy peace of mind knowing your family will receive a guaranteed payout when you're gone. UK resident 50 to 80, you're guaranteed acceptance. No health checks and from just £1.15 a week. Plus free 24/7 GP access with the health and wellbeing benefit. Purchase and receive a £125 gift card for amazon.co.uk, Tesco or M&S. Visit postoffice.co.uk/over50s.
How long's it been then? We met about 8 years back. What? Yeah, serious relationship.
He has this way of looking into my eyes.
Knows how to treat me. Gentle, considerate.
Did I tell you he owns his own business?
I think he's going to pop the question.
Better or worse?
Better.
Our opticians and audiologists own their stores, so your care is their business, which can make them rather popular.
Apparently, he's seeing half the town.
Book an appointment today.
Welcome back. You're watching the World Report on NDTV. And now over to news from the world of business, where Donald Trump's signature tax and spending bill is hanging in the balance, or should I say still hanging in the balance, as Republicans struggled to muster sufficient votes in the U.S. House of Representatives. Meanwhile, House Speaker Mike Johnson is determined to pass the bill as soon as possible, but has been frustrated, and visibly so, by lawmakers who object to its provisions and the overall cost. They have blocked House Republicans from approving a rule which is necessary in this case to begin debate on the measures and also set the stage for the bill's passage. Now, the vote will stick open as the clock struck midnight. Well, vote was still open as the clock struck midnight on Thursday in D.C., with 5 Republicans and all Democrats voting against it. On the other hand, 8 GOP lawmakers had yet to cast their votes. However, that group contains several of the bill's detractors. Now, enough Republicans have already voted to back it, but Johnson is hoping to change their minds as well. US President Donald Trump has struck a trade deal with Vietnam with terms that take aim at China. Now, Washington will have free access to Vietnamese market, Trump said, while Hanoi will pay a 20% tariff on its goods to Washington and 40% on products originating from other countries. Now, under Trump's Liberation Day regime, Vietnam had faced among the highest duties in the world. Now, China is Vietnam's biggest trading partner, viewers, for perspective, and Washington had accused Hanoi, in fact, of acting as a channel for Chinese manufacturers to circumvent American duties. Now, as the U.S. pushes for trade deals ahead of the July 9 deadline, Beijing is growing increasingly wary of agreements that can, in fact, isolate Chinese firms from global supply chains. And fresh trouble for Tesla. The EV maker reported another record sales plunge Wednesday. Now, this comes as the brand damaged from CEO Musk's political activities. Increased competition continue to batter the once fastest growing electric car maker. Now, Tesla reported it sold 384,122 cars in the quarter, down nearly 60,000 vehicles or 13.5% from the sales total a year ago. Now, that marks the largest year-over-year drop in sales in the company's history till now. However, that number is up 14.1% from its first quarter total. Despite the sales drop, shares of Tesla opened up nearly 4% in the green Wednesday trading, even though this report preceded the opening of the stock market. Moving on, and what's shaping up to be yet another brutal year for the tech sector. More than 100,000 jobs have already been slashed globally in 2025 till July itself. Now, leading technology companies like Intel, Meta, and even Google are continuing to trim their workforce as they grapple with economic pressures, restructuring efforts, and even shifting priorities in the AI era. Meanwhile, Microsoft is the latest to announce a fresh round of layoffs, with 9,100 employees set to lose their jobs, primarily in the Xbox and gaming units. News from the world of sports, where Indian captain Shubman Gill slammed a magnificent century on day one of the second test against England at Birmingham. India ended at 310 for 5 after 85 overs at stumps, with Gill unbeaten on a century. Now, viewers, remember, this makes Gill only the fourth Indian Test captain ever to hit centuries in his first 2 tests as captain, joining an elite list of Virat Kohli and the likes of Sunil Gavaskar as well. Meanwhile, Yashasvi Jaiswal also slammed an impressive 87, however, narrowly missing out on his 100. Here's more.
Shubman Gill was magical. Let's be very clear and very honest. At 211 for 5, India was staring down the barrel. The vice-captain had gotten out playing a reckless shot. Nitish Kumar Reddy, wrong error in judgment. You've seen what happened at Leeds. India could have folded up for 250, 260. Game was all England. At that point in time, braving cramps, despite having a back problem, the captain held firm. And at the end of the day, it's an even Stevens day. India will now say we can get to 400. Shubman Gill is still out there. Absolutely magical 100 from Shubman Gill. Sachin at 25 got 40 international hundreds. Virat got 26 and Shubman has 16. And now back-to-back hundreds as a test batter. He's pushed himself right up there in the echelons of Indian cricket.
The next naval officer, Gauri Mishra, has in fact won 2 golds and a silver at the World Masters track cycling in Taiwan. Now, Mishra began cycling only in 2019. Gauri is now promoting, in fact, a Pedal for Planet with his son Rian, who happens to be another cycling champion as well. Here's a special report.
Gauri Mishra, a former naval officer, has won 2 gold medals and 1 silver medal in track cycling in the World Masters Games 2025 in Taiwan. How special are these 2 gold medals and 1 silver medal for you?
I picked up track cycling at the age of 40 when most of the people, they plan to leave track cycling. I picked up track cycling, and competing on a world stage is very, very difficult, you know, because we are competing with all the masters athletes who were once Olympians and medal holders at international platform. So competing with them, learning with them, and being with them is itself a great feeling. And let me tell you, I feel so special that I could win 2 gold and 1 silver medal in track cycling.
How did your naval career shape this passion?
You know, Indian Navy defense is all about discipline, and being served in Indian Navy for around 2 decades gave me that kind of perseverance and discipline. I'm very thankful to services that they gave me that kind of discipline. This sports also demand discipline, hard work and practice, lot of practice. Out of then, if you have all these, then comes the mental strength also.
Ma'am, your son Ryan is also a cycling champion. So is there a mom-son race?
Ryan was 6 years old when he made his first world record. And we have a mission. We pedal for planet. We want to reduce carbon footprint and encourage children, women to take up fitness. So then Ryan picked up track cycling. I also picked up track cycling because I wanted him to learn.
Signing off with Suresh, Gopika for NDTV.
In the world of entertainment, Deepika Padukone will be getting her own start on the Hollywood Walk of Fame very soon. Now, she has etched her name in history by becoming the first Indian actor to be honored with a star on the popular sidewalk in Los Angeles. And well, that's all we have for you this Thursday. Take care and have a wonderful day.
It's great to be helping out before my first grandchild arrives, and after having a few repairs myself, I need to make sure they'll all be protected. Which reminds me, there's more than one way to help protect my family.
Welcome to British Seniors, the UK's #1 rated provider of over 50s life insurance. How can I help?
Hi, I'd like a quick quote.
You've come to the right place. We're proud to offer our seniors lifetime guarantee. With 100% of claims having been paid, we guarantee your premiums will never go up and that you'll speak to one of our specialists in the UK.
Wow, that's great to hear.
Depending on your age, your loved ones can get a cash payout up to £10,000. And the cover is in place for your whole life.
And what's the application like?
It couldn't be easier to apply. If you're a UK resident aged 50 to 80, you're guaranteed to be accepted and you can arrange everything in a matter of minutes. There are no medicals or blood tests. Prices start from just £4.52 a month for £1,000 of cover.
Wow, that money could help with funeral costs or as a gift for my grandkid. I'll do it.
As the UK's #1 rated provider of over 50s life insurance, we're proud to protect thousands of families across the UK. We're rated excellent by Trustpilot and also rated platinum by FIFO. Plus, when you sign up, you'll receive a £135 gift card and free 24/7 GP advice and health services.
He's going to be named after his granddad.
Be proud to protect your loved ones with British Seniors. To get a free life insurance quote today, call our UK team on 0800 781 0770 or visit britishseniors.co.uk.
Your personalised car insurance deals from Otto Sergei, already done for you.
Simples.
Just make it simples with Compare the Market.
When facts are fragmented, we put the pieces together. Where power collides with truth, we are there.
Behind me is that massive security arrangements that are in place.
Behind fractured boundaries, we clear the fog of war. Fault Lines with Gauri Dwivedi, only on NDTV World.
Hello and welcome. We have a very special guest with us here today on the NDTV network for an exclusive interview. It's the second lady of the United States, Miss Usha Vance. Miss Vance, NDTV की दर्शकों की तरफ से आपको नमस्कार. You know, there's a lot of curiosity about what's going on in your kitchen. Everyone is most interested because the Vice President himself has said that he was a meat and potatoes man until he met you, and then your mother taught him how to cook. So now everyone wants to know, what is it that he cooks for you?
Well, he's very experimental. He'll try anything. So he's done everything from chana masala to, has been making a specialty of desserts recently. So our children especially enjoy that.
In your home, what does a traditional Indian meal look like?
Well, my family is from Andhra Pradesh. And
they have the most amazing cuisine.
Yes, I think so. Although we've been enjoying the food of other areas as well while we're here. So my mother and grandmother are both excellent cooks. And my father, too, actually makes very good dosa, pasaratu, things like that. So, I mean, I think it looks exactly like what you might imagine. You know, sometimes it's very simple and it's sambar and rice and some sort of kura. Sometimes it's a little bit more complicated and my mom pulls out all the stops and makes pulao or something, or a few dishes. But it's a vegetarian household, so that usually defines it.
And the Andhra cuisine is famous for its chutneys. Do you manage to get all the ingredients together there?
I am not a preparer of chutneys, but my grandmother makes wonderful chutneys, and I think she manages to figure it all out. She gets the ingredients at the Indian stores near us.
Well, that's wonderful. You know, there was something else that I was reading about you, and the fact that at your wedding, you had a traditional Indian ceremony and you also had a traditional American ceremony. And it's a beautiful metaphor for the way people across the globe are coming together culturally. And was that very important to you?
Well, it was very important. We got married in Kentucky, which is the state where my husband's family was from, but we had so many people fly from all over the world, including India. And so both our guest list and the ceremonies were sort of a representation of our very different backgrounds coming together. And you know, my parents, of course, were married in a traditional Hindu ceremony. And so when I imagined weddings and what that might look like, I imagined the pictures that I'd seen of them.
But what did you and the Vice President like, especially at the Amer Fort?
Well, I mean, obviously the architecture is spectacular, and we really enjoyed seeing the mix of cultures that were brought in when they were building it in the first instance. So you see the Persian influence, and of course you see elements of Hinduism with the lotus references, and it was just a really interesting representation.
When facts are fragmented, we put the pieces together. Where power collides with truth, we are there.
Behind me is that massive security arrangements that are in place.
Behind fractured boundaries, we clear the fog of war. Fault Lines with Gauri Dwivedi, only on NDTV World.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Fault Lines on NDTV World. I'm Gauri Dwivedi. This is a show where we decode the truth behind the headlines and beyond the divide. Today, the Russia-Ukraine war is entering a new and deadly phase. The dawn of robot warfare, where drones pull the trigger and AI decides who lives and who dies. The battlefield is evolving. It's no longer soldier versus soldier, but machine versus machine. And later on the show, a battle of tradition and spirituality versus power and dominance, one with massive geopolitical consequences. The Dalai Lama has ruled out China's role from his reincarnation process, a King BG, which will have none of it, determined the end of the movement, fighting for the right of Tibetans. What remains? Thousands of lives in limbo and India in the eye of this escalating storm. But now let's focus on the first story on the show.